talking about the rest of January 2019. There's a Mars-Jupiter exchange. We also have an eclipse around the end of the month, and many other things, so check it out. So the first thing I want to say is that you can register for my 2019 forecast. It's free. There's a link below this video, and it's more than an hour long where I talk about the 10 most important shifts for 2019. You can also get the forecast for your sign because it's going to be different whether you're a Aries or a Scorpio or an Aquarius, how these 10 shifts will impact you. But you can certainly make sure to register for the free 2019 forecast where I go over the 10 most important shifts. So this year really started with a bang. We had a solar eclipse January 5th and 6th, and we have also had a Mars-Jupiter exchange that's been happening from Pisces and Scorpio. These are big events, and that eclipse of January 5th in the US and the 6th for the rest of the world really set things off, really set this year off on an interesting course. A lot of things getting shaken up, transformed. It happened in Sagittarius, where we are looking to be inspired, and Saturn was very close to the eclipse. Of course, Saturn is the planet of focus, commitment, and really, finding those things that are worth focusing on and finding those other things that we want to get rid of. So that conjunction of Saturn very close to the Sun when we had the eclipse really made this pretty heavy, where we had to look at some really deep and important things relative to our power and, again, what inspires us, because we're talking about Sagittarius energy. Underneath it all, though, we have Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, who's in Scorpio, the sign of deep emotional transformation, facing our fears and vulnerabilities. So that Jupiter is in an exchange with Mars, who's in Pisces. So Jupiter's the ruler of Pisces, where Mars is the ruler of Scorpio, where Jupiter is, and they're exchanging. So it really makes for a time where we can pursue our, higher inspirations, which is Pisces, with courage, which is Mars, and also dig deeply into our emotional fears and vulnerabilities, which is Scorpio, with a lot of hope and inspiration, which is Jupiter. So all these things come together now, and for the rest of the month. So that's going to be a prevailing theme for much of this month. Now we also have January 20th, I believe is the date, we have a lunar eclipse in Cancer in the nakshatra of Pushya, which is the part of Cancer related to the breasts and nurturing and motherhood and selfless love. So again, in Vedic astrology we use the sidereal zodiac, as it says in all the texts. The nakshatras and the rashis, or the signs, are aligned. They occupy the same space, and so this part of Cancer is known as Pushya, and it's literally, the symbol is the teats of a cow. How much more Cancerian can that be, right? Because Cancer is the sign of motherhood, selfless love, just wanting to nurture and protect like a mother breastfeeds a child. It's a very literal metaphor. And so this is really a time to sink into that selfless love and nurturing and devotion. Whether you have children or not or whatever, that devotional quality of life is going to be really important as we get to, as we get around the end of the month, and particularly like the 20th or whatever that exact date is, it's going to be very important. This is the last eclipse of this Rahu in Cancer, Ketu in Capricorn cycle. And so it's very important to look back at the cycle. Now, Rahu went into Cancer in September of 2017. Right after that, we started the Me Too movement, and I said at the time that this was going to be a transition from the kind of hyper-masculinized, Rahu and Leo transit that we'd had before, to something much more related to the divine feminine, feminine energy, our relationships with women, things like that. Again, the Me Too movement started right after that, and if we look at what's happened in the world since then, I talk about politics and world events because we can all see it, but what just happened here very recently at the end of 2018, and as we're seeing now, is there's been a big shift of power in the U.S. To much more of a female empowerment. There was a big election in 2018 where most of the gains were women, ethnic women, young women, LGBT women, powerful women have kind of taken over and taken a lot of power back from the hyper-masculinized cycle before, which brought in Trump and hard lines. Now, of course, that hard line, energy is running into this female wall now. We can see this politically in the U.S. for sure, because probably the most powerful person in Congress and maybe in the country right now is a woman, Nancy Pelosi. And regardless of what you think of her, that's not the point. We're just talking about facts here. She's very powerful, in many ways just as powerful as Donald Trump, the president, if not more. And he's run into a wall now. Literally, he talks about building a wall. He's hit a wall, and it's someone who is not going to say yes, someone he can't order around, someone he can't push around. And it's a woman. And she is strong. And so again, this is the end of that Rahu in Cancer transit. And we're seeing this eclipse, and we'll see that power of that feminine, nurturing, sensitive, compassionate resurgence, I think, at this time. And so again, regardless of what you think about the politics or whatever, I talk about these things so we can see the shifts in life. And again, one of the things we need to be able to do is hear things and just look at things that are factual. These are just factual. It's not my opinion that this happened or whatever. I'm not advocating a position, although it's pretty clear that I do think it's a good thing to reassert some, what I think is a more, compassionate approach to things. But whether we agree or disagree, these are the facts. And I mention this because we're about to have another big shift this year in early March, where Rahu goes into Gemini. And we're going to have to get back to a factual life, not a fact-free zone where we're just triggered by our tribalism. So much tribalism right now that even if you present facts, just because people don't like the facts, they say it's fake news or it's this or it's that. There's no fake news about the things I said, whether people agree or disagree. So ponder this as it's coming up. But for the rest of January, again, we have this Mars-Jupiter exchange really allowing you to connect and have the courage to pursue higher metaphysical truths, spirituality, devotion, very devotional time. Jupiter in Scorpio, very devotional, and this full moon eclipse in Cancer, in Pushya Nakshatra, be very powerful. And I talk about these things, especially the Mars-Jupiter and the recent eclipse, in my 2019 forecast. Again, you can check that out. It's free. You have to register for it. It's more than an hour long, and it's quite in-depth. And you just register for it, and they're many times available. You also can get the personalized 2019 forecast for you, because all of those 10 important shifts that I talk about in 2019 will be different based on your ascendant, based on your rising sign. And so those things are really important, that you connect with all of these different shifts that will be happening relative to your ascendant, because it's different if you're a Gemini than if you're a Pisces or a Capricorn. So that's available to you as well.